As a kid I was always forced to kneel on rice for hours at a time and it was an absolute nightmare. I was raised by a single mother who handed this punishment out to me for poor grades, and each letter below an A meant 2 hours of kneeling on rice. If my report card came back with 2 B's, 2 A's and a C, that would be a total of 8 hours straight of kneeling on rice. I remember begging my mother with everything I had not to make me kneel, but she never showed mercy. I remember kneeling down and knowing that this was going to be my life for the next 8 hours. Within the first 30 minutes my skin would experience irritation and damage. The pain was starting to become very noticeable and the rice would start to seriously dig into my skin at this point. 1 hour into the kneeling my knees would be stiff and locked up and the rice would start to feel extremely sharp and sore. 2 hours in my knees would become numb and by this point I would experience joint pain and muscle pain in my quads. By 3 hours in I would usually start to cry because the pain would become so unbearable. It would feel like my knees were on fire and the rice felt like sharp metal spikes. My knees would be in severe agony and I remember pleading to my mom to let me up, but she never did. Around the 4-hour mark I would start to lose circulation and my knees would start to go purple. The pain by this point had decreased as my legs were basically numb by this point. I couldn't feel them or move them. I couldn't stand up by myself either. And it was only when my mom saw my knees turn purple that she would help me stand up. As soon as I stood up the pain was excruciating and I would often scream out. My mom would let me breathe for a few minutes until my knees turned a normal color again and she would make me kneel again after, making sure I finished the full 8 hours or however long I was doing. By the time the 8 hours was over I was usually crying from the pain and my legs would be locked up and purple. My knees would be indented from the rice and my quads would be in pain too. I usually was not able to walk the day after this happened too. Nowadays I have severe joint damage and permanent scar tissue damage in my knee. The nerves in my knee have also been damaged and I can't even walk up the